And thanks, team. This is such important work for Auckland. Really appreciate it. Now we're just going to move things around because we love our Deputy Mayor and we do, and he's asked that I do. Councillor, that does not even bear responding to. In fact, poking my mind's eye out as we speak. Item 13 is the Pukekohe Pairata Community Facility Provision Assessment, and I just move that we take item 13 at this time. I can just do it myself. Thank you. I've moved that. Therefore, it is. So let's do item 13, and I hope you appreciate this, Bill.
Thank you very much for that, Chair.
Good. Awesome. Thanks, team.
Oh, there we go. You've got new flash technology. So good afternoon. The purpose of this report is to seek the committee's agreement on the key moves outlined in the Pukekohe Pairata Community Facilities Provision Assessment. This was an action that emerged out of the Community Facility Network Plan in view of the fact there's projected to be substantial growth in the Pukekohe area. So our assessment and review found that overall Pukekohe is well served with the community facilities. They have a lot of facilities in that area, and a number of them are operating under capacity, so there is room to accommodate some of the growth. But then there's also some facilities that have some issues that could be made better use of, and some of them are not quite fit for purpose, so there's some work to do as well. But in particular around aquatic provision, so there are 2 pools in Pukekohe for a population currently of 30,000 people, and one of those pools is nearing capacity, and the other is an outdoor pool, and with all outdoor pools there's limited ability to grow capacity because of the seasonal nature of them. So there's some work to do in looking at that future pools provision and what we can do to improve that. And in the medium to longer term, probably the key thing coming out of this work is there's going to be need to be some sort of multi-purpose community provision in the Pairata area to serve the kind of level of growth that's expected in there. The population for the Pukekohe Pairata area is anticipated to reach 64,000 by 2046, in 30 years' time or thereabouts, and half of that will be in the Pairata area. So what's important to note is the Franklin Local Board have endorsed the key moves that we've outlined in this report. They are comfortable with that. They've made a few recommendations to staff about some of the things to consider when we're looking at the aquatic provision, and we'll take that into account. And then the key moves will also be added to the Community Facilities Action Plan to ensure that we are tracking and monitoring progress on those actions. We don't lose sight of them. And then otherwise I'm happy to take the report as read and answer any questions.
Thanks guys for doing this work. Just when the catchment for the Pukekohe in particular areas goes way south of the border into the Waikato, because they've got nothing down there. They use our pools, they use our libraries. I know we've done a deal with the library. I've been getting emails all the time about we need more sports fields on Pukekohe, and the email address is somewhere in Pocono across the border. So how do we handle that side of things?
Look, it is tricky because you can't stop people getting in their car and going to wherever they want to go, and we have got that across Auckland as well. I mean, from our provision perspective, we are looking primarily at the Auckland Council catchments, but we know that that is putting demand on our facilities, that you've got Tuakau and Pōkeno residents coming up through to Pukekohe to use their facilities. So look, as we go through into the next stage, particularly with aquatic and leisure, I think that's where most of that pressure is coming, rather than say in our community centres or venues for hire, because there's plenty of those with lots of capacity. So look, in that next stage of work, we'll really have a think about that and what the opportunity is there, whether there's some demand management that we need to do, and you know, there could be sort of options for how you manage that. Yeah.
Tricky one, Madam Chair, because they literally, those towns are growing by thousands.
I mean, there are precedents of charging for ratepayers for your use of facilities.
Yeah.
I just want to repeat what the Deputy Mayor said, Madam Chair. Build a wall and the people of Pocono will pay for it.
I can see when a stressful morning builds a silly afternoon. Member Blair.
Kia ora, and thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the report. I know there's a large Māori community out there. Could you kind of talk about kind of their responses?
So look, as part of this research, we didn't talk specifically to Māori other than look at existing social research that was available and existing quality of life research. We certainly looked at the demographic information available through census data and the like, and we know that Pukekohe has a larger Māori population than the rest of Auckland, around 17%, compared to around 10% in other parts of the region. That number has decreased a little bit as proportion, as overall percentage of the population, and we know that they tend to be high users of aquatic facilities, particularly of the Jubilee pool. But going forward, when we're starting to look at the future of the aquatic provision, we will be talking to people who live in the community, including Māori residents.
Okay, would you consider Māori would be high users of the facility, and I want to encourage as much health and wellbeing within the Māori community. Would you consider that the views in your report here to be considered as including as part of the recommendations around views of around investigating investment in facilities that promote culturally appropriate activities? Is that something that you would support?
Yeah, absolutely. And the time to generally do that much more community-based engagement, we're really talking to residents, is when we're actually going to be sort of getting into that more detailed planning of what we're providing. At this stage, this was a very high-level assessment based on projected population growth and what already exists. But when we move into that next phase of work is the time to talk to people. When there's something real that might happen.
Yeah, but prior to that, I'd kind of seek to have it included now so that it's not lost down the track.
Yeah, it could be.
Blair, would you like to put that up as an addition?
Yes, please.
Okay, we'll put that up and we can talk about it. In the meantime, I'll go to Councillor Clow and Councillor Filipaina. Councillor Clow.
Was the aquatic situation there, was that identified in our Greater Auckland facility plan? I can't remember that being a priority, and it's
so this action to look at Pukekohe did come about through the Community Facility Network Plan. We identified, just given the level of growth that's projected in the area, that we needed to go and have a look at the facilities and just see how they were going to accommodate that growth and what we might need to do in the future. I mean, the fact is our provision policy states in terms of pools that generally we're looking at, 35,000 to 50,000 for a catchment for a pool. And in Pukekohe at the moment, you've got a population of 30,000 and 2 pools. So on one level, you would say they're well provided for. It's just the issue is there is demand coming from outside the catchment, and one of the pools is perhaps not as fit for purpose as we would like, given its seasonal nature. So I think there's opportunity to do some things there to deliver a better service. It may not mean a new pool, it might mean some development of the existing facilities. I guess there could be a range of options. The board are certainly interested in potential amalgamation of the pools, and I guess we're open to exploring all of the options that might deliver the service that's needed to support that growth that we're projecting.
And I mean, I don't want to I don't want to not have a pool or better facilities out there, but I mean, yeah, as long as we remember that there's 300,000 out west and we have one pool.
That's right. So we're very cognizant of that.
Thank you. We can just send them to the Deputy Mayor's Olympic-sized swimming pool at his house. Councillor Filipaina.
Thank you, Chair, and tēnā kōrua, ladies. Look, I 2 questions at this stage. One question is the growth in the area, is that based on building consents, or is it a projected amount? Because I know our sports investment plan is based on building consents around the growth. So just wanted to sort of get that question out of the way.
I mean, we work with our growth team to, it's based on the sort of transport modelling projections, which is a combination of things, of census projections as well as resource consents being issued. There's a combination of things. So we use the kind of published data that's available around projected growth.
Okay, because I know that the investment plan, sports investment one, is based on building consent, so we know at least there are communities going in there. Yeah. Hence the question.
just to clarify through the chair, you might, quite a few of you remember where all of us used to use different growth information, and so councillors requested a change. All staff, including Auckland Transport, and all the CCOs, we all use the same growth data now, the same growth data that was used for the Auckland plan. So whilst it isn't perfect, because as you know, some of the census data is old, we all do use the same mixture of information. So we've used that to be consistent with everyone else's growth projections.
And that, it is a risk around whether the growth projections will come to fruition. So we will relook at that. Once the census data is incorporated in the future growth models, we will recalibrate this again to go, what does that mean? Is it coming faster than we thought, or is it actually taking longer?
That leads me to the second question around that census. So when are we going to get at least the information data from the census? Because reading our agendas with all our committees, subcommittees, you name it, it's still going back to 2013 because that's the basis we have, and it's projected from there. Because I think not only council but our communities will be very interested in regards to the population growth if they have had.
We are bound by, of course, what's available through New Zealand statistics, but our understanding is September is the time that more update information will be available to us. But we are watching this space.
Of course, is based on what data they collected, not the new data they are still collecting.
Councillor Claude, no. Sorry, I was going to say yes. If you move, Member Blair, would you like to second that with the inclusion of your recommendation? Awesome. Okay, I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.